modulates significantly, and so you go into something less confident, ironically. And that's not to say that you don't believe that you have the ability to do the job. Like you're not there's not a lack of confidence because of your own competence. It's just, as you're going through buds, this is a true story too. There were 3 guys who I really looked up to. And they were guys with great work ethics, great attitudes. They were in great physical condition and really hardworking guys. And I really looked up to them, and I was like, okay, those dudes are for sure going to make it. I'm just going to try to emulate them as much as possible. So we get into buds. We're in like the second week, so we haven't even got to hell week yet. We're in the second week. And so every time somebody quits, you have to take off your helmet and you line it up. You line it up next to what's called the grinder. It's basically a giant parking lot where you have to do a bunch of like push-ups and stuff. So you have to line up your helmet next to all the other guys, and like your name is on this green helmet that you line up, right? Well, we were doing grinder PT one day, so it's like just doing like hundreds and thousands of push-ups and sit-ups and all this kind of stuff for like hours on end. And as we were doing this, it's brutal. It's like the worst. They're spraying you with water. You're covered in sand. You're like bleeding. Your like back is bleeding because you've been doing so many sit-ups on like on the concrete, right? Anyway, so I look over and I can see the names of all the guys that were there, and the 3 most recent quitters were all 3 of those guys.
Whoa.
And I couldn't believe it. It was just so symbolic. It wasn't like they were scattered out between all the different helmets, because there's dozens and dozens and dozens of helmets. All 3 of those guys were the 3 most recent quitters. And that gave me the realization that, okay, now I understand what this whole mental thing is about, because there's no reason those dudes couldn't have made it. They were much more qualified than me. And that's when I started to realize, like, oh, maybe I will survive this thing, because I'm still here and those guys aren't here. Now I get it. And so, to answer your question, like what changed when you go through that training and you pass it, there's just this level of confidence that now you realize you know who you are and you've proven it to yourself. And then you go into combat and you prove to yourself that, oh, I actually do have the ability and the intestinal fortitude to hold my position when things are going really bad. And you learn a lot about yourself. And then that hopefully gives you some confidence. Yeah.
Yeah, it's a common pattern I've heard from every Navy SEAL I've talked with. It's like, when they get there day one, whatever dude they point to that they're like, oh, he's flying colors, going to make it, that's like one of the first guys that gets cut for whatever reason. Yeah. It's just that thing. Like the person who on paper looks the best, it turns out to be like the 2011 Eagles. It's a dream team on paper, a nightmare on the field. It just doesn't work. But I had asked you this last time as well, but I asked every Navy SEAL when they come in here to give me, the main mental thing they think people need, and I get a different answer every time. Okay. And it's always something interesting. I'm trying to remember what yours was, but I remember being like, damn, I hadn't thought of it that way. At the end of the day, though, outside of like that thing, the most common pattern that every one of you guys talks about is like that ability to just be gritty and just take it. And just kind of like, how much do you have it up here to just be able to be like, I don't need to go be Michael Jordan in this drill, but I better damn well finish the game like he does. You know what I mean? Like I can't go to the bench and take a breather. And there was that old speech. Maybe it was McRaven who gave it. Okay. I might be remembering that wrong. Correct me in the comments if I am. But he's like, don't ever ring that bell. And he talks about the symbolic bell you ring, like if you're quitting or whatever. And I don't know, that just always stuck with me. It seems like the Navy SEALs are just a bunch of guys who just don't fucking ring that bell.
Yeah, and I think there's another. So there's 2 sort of interesting elements here. One is you have these guys who come in hyper confident, and so actually this is one of the things that I learned about. There's an actual psychological phenomena where there's like a direct correlation between how confident somebody is and how competent they are. The more competent and better you are at something, ironically, your level of confidence modulates significantly, and so you go into something less confident, ironically. And that's not to say that you don't believe that you have the ability to do the job. Like you're not. There's not a lack of confidence because of your own competence. It's just you're unsure because you're like, okay, I've seen too many things go wrong. So when you have somebody who goes in extremely confident, there's like a direct correlation between that and them like having a lower level of competence. So for example, like at an elite level, you have whether it's a sports team or, Delta Force going on a hostage rescue mission, they are going to sit there and go like, yeah, we know we're the best, but this could go wrong, this could go wrong, this could go wrong, this could go wrong. And then that's what they focus on, is mitigating all those things. And so when they do show up to game day or they do show up for that hostage rescue mission, they're ready for all those things and they're ready to adapt, and they know they're going to get punched in the mouth. Like the Bin Laden raid, they went over like what happens if the first helicopter goes down, and it did. Like who would have ever thought that the helicopter is going to randomly crash, right? And they'd already gone through that. And so when you have guys show up to SEAL training, you have these guys that are overly confident. A lot of times it's the dudes who are the stud, right? And they might have a great work ethic. They might have, but whatever. But like they are used to being the top dog. They're used to being the jock at in college or at school, and they're used to being the top dog. And so when they have no idea what it's like to be at the back of the pack, running, trying to keep up, covered in vomit with an injury. They don't know what that's like. And so then their confidence just gets destroyed. Whereas someone like me, ironically, it ended up being to my benefit that I was just sort of a middle of the road guy, because I knew what it was like to grind. Yep. And it was like, yeah, I'm never at the front of the pack. I'm always like trying to catch the dude in front of me.
Easy and so steady.
Totally used to it. Yeah.
Yeah. Now it makes, like, every time I talk to one of you guys, it makes total sense why you got to where you were. Like, it's just hard, it's hard to explain. Like, there's all different personalities, there's different personality types and whatever, but that same kind of pattern of just kind of lasting through comes through for sure. But it's like, you were saying this a few minutes ago. You can't know. It's one thing to beat down your mind in the training to be able to grin and to grit and bear things and be able to take pain and all that. But you can't know how physiologically you're going to react when you are actually on a real battlefield and real bullets are flying. And every person I ever talked to from any level of the military will tell you some version of, you find out who the guys are when the bullets start flying. And I think it's, even at the highest level like you guys, it's still the case, because, the stories you told last time about Afghanistan are some of the greatest told stories in the history of my podcast. I mean, it was just like, we're sitting here like this, like, holy shit. And I'm just trying to imagine myself like, damn, Ephraim, age 20, like, in the middle of like 08 or whatever it was, I'm sorry, 2011, 2012, Afghanistan, whatever it was in that area, right? When shit was
2014. Yeah.
Right. Okay. So things had gone south, even worse. Things had gone really south at that point. And you just got people shooting at you from mountains and trees, and you don't even know where you are. You're fighting the geography as much as you're fighting the ghost. It's like, you can't prepare yourself for that.
No, and you bring up something very interesting, the physiological response to stress. So when you're healthy and things are good to go, you can train your mind for combat itself, right? But I'm going to give you a really interesting anecdote. So last year when we did this podcast, you couldn't tell, but the first 5 minutes of the podcast, I was having like this really weird nervous reaction. My body was physically reacting because of the fact that the cameras are on me, and I was having this weird physiological reaction which I didn't understand. And so that is where, and I'll explain what happened and like what I did to get over it. So I guess maybe 6 or 7 months before I came on this podcast, I was in a battle in Burma. And I don't know if we talked about this or not, but I was in a building that got hit by an airstrike, and the roof got blown off. I don't know if we talked about this or not.
I think we talked about this, but I think it was off camera. I'm trying to remember.
Okay.
I feel like we talked about this at the Eagles game.
Okay, gotcha.
But go ahead.
So anyway, airstrike comes in, blows the roof off of the building that I'm sitting in. Myself and a couple other my stronghold guys were in this building. It was a targeted assassination. They knew we were in this building. They cut the cell phone. The Burma army cut the cell phone towers, and they completely changed the attack vectors that all their aircraft were doing, trying to hold back the rebels. And they came in, and so we didn't even hear or see the aircraft until the bombs were already going off. So anyway, so we're in this building. The roof gets blown off the top of us. We run out of the building. We jump into the trenches. Immediately, 2 more aircraft come in and drop bombs directly on the building that we were just in, completely obliterating it. All my stuff was blown up. All my guys' stuff was blown up. I'm barefoot. It just happened to be barefoot at the time because I actually had a mild fever. And so we get out of the building. We're in the trenches. We actually have a video of this too, of the aircraft dropping bombs on us. You can see the jets flying over us. Joe, maybe we can try to pull it up on Instagram. The Stronghold Rescue Instagram. I think we have that on there. But anyway, so I was in there, and I remember at the time I was so calm. There was almost no fear. The only thing that was going through my head was, as these aircraft are coming in, you hear the jets like screaming in, and you know this 500-pound bomb is going to hit somewhere within like 50 yards of you, or maybe right on top of you. You don't know, and so. As I'm in this trench, I'm literally just thinking, oh, I'm still alive because I'm thinking. I'm still alive because I'm thinking. And I was like, am I dead yet? Am I dead yet? And it was just this really weird thing, but I was very calm, right? So we finished that operation. A few months later, we're back here in the States or whatever, but I started having these really weird sort of reactions to stress. So a normal conversation with somebody, your stress level goes up a little bit. You're like, oh, I want this person to like me. Am I gonna speak well? Right? Just normal human being stress that you don't even think about. It doesn't even rise above the level of considering it stress, right? Well, I started mentally, I felt fine, but my body started to physiologically react to stuff. And so I think one of the first times that I recognized something was off was actually it had been the couple weeks prior to coming on your podcast, because I think I just finished up the Harvard summer program that I had just finished up, and then I was sitting here and I'm like, why am I started like sweating, my hands started getting a little bit jittery, and I was like, what the hell is wrong with me? And I realized only after I realized later that it was because this thing, I'd come so close to dying, and I didn't realize the physiological effect that was happening. So there was this disconnect between the stress level that my brain felt and like the stress level of how my body was reacting.
Thank you guys for checking out this clip. If you haven't already subscribed, please subscribe and hit the like button on this video. It is a huge help. And if you'd like to check out this clip's full podcast episode, that link is in the description below or right here. And finally, you can follow me on Instagram and X by using the links in my description below.